Hey everybody, welcome back to Talking with Purpose. Today we are missing someone, which is our comic relief. And I have with us Dawn. So we will be doing a parents conference in July, which Dawn will be speaking at. And so we want to kind of pick your brain today and see, explain to us a little bit about it. Because I know you told me, right? And so it's very intriguing on how children are and as they grow up. And so we're going to dig deeper into that.
Awesome.
So I'll start with, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I teach high school, psychology, sociology, economics, financial literacy, American history, and government.
Wow. I didn't realize you did all of that stuff.
I also have a private counseling practice. I've been counseling for almost 11, well, I think it's been a little over 11 years now. Work with 13 through all the way up until like 80-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
I'm also a licensed school counselor. So I have worked extensively with children. I've had my own children and learned a lot about kids, teenagers along the way, not only their behaviors, but how their brain changes. And sometimes I think parents, we take everything on ourselves, like it's our fault, or we could have done this or should have done this, or what happened to my little baby? They don't want to talk to me anymore.
Right.
And so parents need to know that there are changes that are taking place in the brain, that it's not all on you.
That's good. So what would you say inspired you to dedicate your career to helping children and people in general?
I have 7 brothers and sisters. And so, when you're growing up, I look at my mom and she, she's amazing, but she had her struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And, as a kid, you think, oh, I will never do that, with my kid or
Right.
my child. And my mom could be very harsh, but loving. And we always knew we were loved. But as you grew up, you realized, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I had 2 little ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know
I
what
can't
I would have
imagine
lost my
7.
mind
Right.
with 8 kids. And I have a twin brother, so there were 2.
2.
And then our sister was a year and 10 days older than us. So she had a toddler and twins.
Yeah.
So as I learned and I started growing, and I would see parents out, whether it was at the store or, and child throwing a tantrum, and you're just like, if you could just show them, like, try this or do this. And I think sometimes as parents would become defensive because we already struggle.
Right.
And then, you kind of want to say, well, you just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But we do understand because we've been there, and we're just trying to share this is what helped with us.
Right.
And so my heart goes out, not only to help the children, the teenagers, but the adults that surround them, because I know the devastation and how hard that is when your kids are doing things that you don't understand. And then with the kids, especially teaching high school over the years, so many of my kids that would come to me and talk about what was happening at home, and they didn't know how to talk to mom anymore. They didn't know how to talk to dad, or they didn't understand them. And so I just wanted to be able to explain not only to the parents, but also be there for the kids to say, try this, or to the parents, try this, or pull back a little bit, or give them something to work with, because it's hard. It's harder than anybody could ever imagine.
Right. And I mean, when I think of growing up, you go through so many changes that you yourself don't understand.
Yes.
And then even though, right, you now being a parent, I know now that my mom knew,
Yes.
right? But at that time, I didn't care what she said. Like, to me, it's like, you don't know nothing.
Yeah. It's different. It's just different. That's my biggest thing. It was different when you were a kid.
Right.
No, it's
the
exactly
same thing. Yeah. Why do you think that so many people, so many parents feel overwhelmed and exhausted?
One, I think that there's not a lot of support. This was something, and I was, to this day, for the rest of my life, I will always be grateful to my sister. I remember when my daughter was, she was born May 28th, and I was breastfeeding, and it was like, oh, it's so good for them. All I knew was she had gas she got fed every 2 hours, and she had a gassy belly for an hour. So I would have her screaming for an hour, and then an hour later it was time to feed her again. And I would be awake all night long. And I remember calling my sister and just crying and saying that it doesn't make sense. And I said, I understand the frustration now. Like when people say, like, how could you be impatient with a baby? And she said, this is something that no one tells you. She's like,
Right.
but there are going to be days that you feel like throwing your kid out the window.
Literally.
And she said, but it doesn't make you a bad parent. She said, because you're allowed to feel that. You're overwhelmed and you're frustrated and you thought it was going to be something different. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the hard stuff because you're so afraid of being judged.
Yes.
That you're giving everything that you have. And so I think that parents are afraid to talk to people. I think they're afraid to reach out and feeling inadequate. That maybe they've failed somehow, and that there's like a magic way to get it done.
Right.
And definitely we have no community anymore.
Right.
People have turned to social media. People do not go out and spend time with each other. They don't talk to each other. They don't reach out. And sometimes family, as much as we love them, sometimes are our harshest critics and sometimes the hardest on us. And so I feel like sometimes when you feel like you've been judged, you pull back and you no longer share even with your family. And so you try to do it alone.
So true. Yes, that's so true. And what you say is true about look, even the most amazing parents at one point in time, I'm sure they wanted to throw that baby.
Right. And, and that's you're like, oh, thank you, Lord, that I had patience. Or I learned, I always tell my young ones that have babies, I'm like, they're going to cry and it's okay. And you can put them down and walk away until you collect yourself.
Right.
Close the door so you can't hear them screaming. Go downstairs. Give yourself 5 or 10 minutes. They'll be okay.
Right.
So you can calm down. And then once you've calmed down, they'll feel that you've calmed down and they will calm down. So it's okay to walk away.
Right. Yeah. And that's so true. Like, nobody prepares you to be a parent. Like, nobody. No. Like, even your own parents don't prepare you to be a parent.
People tell you, get all your sleep now.
Right.
And you're like, okay.
And you're like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, that's all they say. But they don't talk about, what do you do when you want to throw your baby out the window?
At 3 a.m. and your baby's been crying for 3 straight hours.
Exactly. Nobody's helping you. The baby is colic. Or I also breastfed. And so the youngest, Yareli, I didn't know that she was I guess dairy intolerant. So the doctor's like, yeah, you're gonna have to stop eating dairy. And I was like, what formula can we switch her to?
Exactly.
We ain't doing that.
That's not gonna happen. And that's where my son was, same thing. For 6 months, he would literally throw up almost everything that he ate. And I ended up going to formula. I breastfed for 2 months and then I had to go back to work. And so I put him on formula. And he was a big boy. And so he would soak everything. And he would probably go through 10 outfits a day because and I tell the doctor and he's like, well, he's growing, he's getting something. And I'm like, but this isn't normal.
Right.
6 months old, he got rotavirus. So they put him on soy, never threw up again. Not, the normal, but not.
Right.
And I was like, so he's been lactose intolerant this entire time, but the doctors never would do anything.
Right.
So that
crazy.
was frustrating.
Yeah.
He didn't learn to crawl or anything because he could not, he wasn't moving like he should.
Right.
Because of that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And that's where doctors sometimes, right?
Arrogance.
I work in the medical field, bro. And it's like you get the ones that listen to you and then you have the ones that they think that they know. And I went to medical school and I don't care what you're saying and this is what's going on. And that doesn't help. You know what I mean? Where you're trying to figure things out and the doctor's telling you the contrary.
And that's exactly the same way as a parent. Then they make you feel stupid. I was told he had seborrhea, like a skin, like an eczema, and they were giving him this cream. And all of a sudden, I was reading this article and it said that this cream was causing cancer. So I immediately called the doctor, and the nurse's response to me was, "Is he eating it?" And I said, what? And she goes, they did a study and they were feeding the rats that cream. That's why they were getting cancer. Rude as could be. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm not that parent that calls every 5 minutes because something's wrong with my child. Matter of fact, I rarely call. I make sure that I've done everything myself before I call. And I said, but when I read an article that a cream that I've been putting on my son since he was born, that is having lymphoma is developing, I said, I'm allowed to be concerned about this.
Right.
It's just, I'm sorry. And she apologized, but it was,
Your skin is the biggest organ of your body.
So I immediately stopped, putting it on him, but it was, and when they told me to give it to him at first, they said put it on every day. And I'm like, I only put it on if there was a patch that came up. I'm not going to put this, it's a steroid. I'm not putting this on him every day.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah. But yelled at me and treated me like I was an idiot because I'm panicking over an article that I read.
Oh, man. I love it. All right. What is the biggest parenting mistake you see parents making today?
Appeasing their children. So I know, okay, so this might offend people, and I don't mean this to be offensive, but toddlers are very much like puppies. And a puppy is, it's looking for the alpha. So puppies are never going to see you as a human. They see you as a pack leader. And so if you don't give them direction and become the pack leader, they will try to become the pack leader. And so toddlers are exactly the same way. Their little brains are so curious that they're figuring out their world every single moment of every day they're growing. And so there's actually a thing called hemisync. We now know, we used to think that children's brains basically by the age of 3 was kind of the foundation. We now know it's 7.
Oh, wow.
And so for the first 7 years of their life, they walk around in a theta state, which is like a twilight, and they're sponges. And so everything that's happening in their world, they're downloading, it becomes their foundation of their belief system.
Wow.
So if their needs aren't being met, the world's unsafe.
Wow.
If you bow to their every whim, they're the center of the world, and this is how everyone should act. And so parents, again, I'm not blaming parents.
Right.
We're busy. You have things you have to do, but you go to the grocery store, you have to get all the grocery shopping done. And so you put your kid in the cart and say, okay, we're going to go. Mommy needs you to be good. And the whole time, this child is wanting this and wanting this and wanting this. Well, mom's tired. She has a set amount of time, set amount of money to spend.
Right.
And this child's interrupting her every minute. And then they want candy and they want this. And she's saying no. And then finally, fine, here you go. And then
you're attacking me right now.
So what happens? Okay, so there's a psychology study that was done with pigeons, and so they would peck this little hole, and when they peck it, a piece of food would come down. And then after the researchers, I believe they did it 100 times, and then they made it so that he had to peck it twice, and then the food would come down. They were able to get the number to 100 pecks before a piece of food would come down, and the pigeon would do it every single time. Children, when you say, here you go, they start learning, oh, well, if I throw a tantrum, mommy will give me what I want.
Right.
If I'm at the store and I start screaming, you might say no the first time, you may say no the second time, but the third time you'll give in. They learn us, and they learn us very fast.
Wow.
They learn which parent, if both parents are in the home, who they can get the way with the most. And again, they're not bad. And this is something that really frustrates me. Never call your child bad. People do that. They're not bad. They're curious, and they're figuring out their world. And what they found was you're the easy target.
Right.
And if you
I feel like it's always mom.
It is. Why? Because emotionally we give in.
Yeah.
Because we don't want our babies to be upset.
Right.
We don't want them to be sad.
Right.
But I mean, when you think about it, as a grown up, if you were at work and you had the boss that was really stern, or the boss that could give in a little bit, who are you going to go to?
Right.
So we do the same thing.
Right.
It's a higher level of thinking, where they're thinking more on survival right now at this stage, is where am I going to get the best outcome?
Right.
So they're not bad. They're just learning and manipulating their world to work for them.
So, so when you have a child that has learned that about you, right? Like they know after 3 times now, mommy's going to say yes or whatever. As the parent, how can you stop that from happening?
You have to start making the changes.
As the parent.
And you have to stick, because it's going to take a while. Okay, so our brains, so people say it takes 21 days to create a new habit. Actually, researchers actually showed that it was 25 days. So there was a study done where they took astronauts and they put them in a zero gravity chamber, and they put these glasses on them. And when they put the glasses on, it flipped their world upside down. And so they were told to continue about their day with the glasses on. They were never allowed to take them off, even when they slept. So as soon as they would wake up, their glasses would be on. And so they took half the group, and after 12 days, they had one group take off the glasses, and they got to take them off for the whole day, 24 hours. Then they put them back on. On day 25, for the first group that kept them on the whole time, when they woke up in the morning, their world had flipped right side up with the glasses on. The brain had transferred it. It took 25 days to recreate this neural pathway to do that. The group that had taken them off had to go an additional 13 days to their day 25.
Wow.
And so what they found was, when you start a habit and you don't follow through with it for 25 days, it breaks apart. So think about you've decided you're going to eat really good. You're going to work out.
That one
Okay?
right there.
And the workout thing is the biggest thing. So you're working out, and then Pastor Les is like, you're on day 20, and you're doing great. And he's like, babe, I'm so proud of you. Like, we're going to celebrate. Take the day off, and we're going to go blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, okay, so you do it. And then next thing you know, a day goes by, you're just not
like, I don't
feeling
feel
it,
like
and you
it.
don't go because the neural pathway broke apart.
So does it have to be something you do every day?
Yes, you have to do it every day. The one day that you break it apart, you don't do it, their little neural pathway breaks apart and it starts all over again because you're really strong and you're good. And then on day 16, you're having a really rough day. You're really tired. You just need her to be quiet because you got things to do. So you give in.
Right.
She just learned, oh, look, mom
Right.
gives in. And so behavior of children is really on us. Children who misbehave, unless there is a disorder or something.
Right.
But behavior in itself, it's really on us. So that comes down to think about when you were training them to sleep in their own bed for the first time.
So
Right?
hard.
So if you would have done 7 straight days, at 7 days, it would have started the patterns there. But parents are exhausted.
Right.
And so never, ever, ever try to start a new habit when you're going to be in the middle of stuff.
Right.
Summers are great for starting new habits, bedtimes, things like that, because, the kid doesn't have to get up in the morning. You might still have to work, but at least they're not going to be tired.
Right.
As adults, we can be a little tired and work through it. Children, they're going to be throwing tantrums, all kinds of stuff. So figure it out when you can do it the best. One of the things that I tell people, and I always told clients that had little kids, is find a store that you don't like, that you don't really shop at. And because what happens is you're at the store, you're at Target, and that's your place. You're always there. And your kid starts throwing a tantrum, and you've told them, if you throw a tantrum, we're leaving. Well, you're not leaving because you got things to do. So as soon as they start, you're like, okay, all right, just one more.
Right.
Well, okay, you're teaching them. So put them in a cart, go to Ollie's, go to Big Lots, go somewhere where you don't normally go. And tell them, we're going in the store, mommy has a few things to do. And if you behave, then when we leave, blah, blah, blah. It can be ice cream, but it can be, we'll go home and we'll play a game together. Because if you give them food, that grows over time. If you give them money, that they're going to want bigger and better things over time.
As they get older.
Yeah. And then what do children really want? Your attention.
Right.
So take them somewhere. Don't make it long, maybe 10, 15 minutes max. And if they start to throw a fit, you say, I told you if you threw a fit while we were in here, we would have to leave. You pick them up out of the cart, you leave your cart, you walk out. Because if you do that, they're in shock that you just made them leave. Because before you wouldn't, because you had things to do.
Right.
Now you're just there.
Right.
They don't know that.
Right.
So then you don't say a word. You put them in your car. They're going to don't answer it. You do not have to talk to it because there's now a power struggle. They want you to talk because if they can get you mad and talking back and forth, they're gaining the advantage. That's that power struggle. So mommy's upset right now. I'm taking a breath. I'll talk to you when we get home.
So if you have an older child, so one that already has gone through that phase, they already know that mommy gives in. Like my oldest is about to be 20 and he'll be like, he'll ask me something multiple times because he knows eventually I'll be like, oh my God, just get out of my face.
Yes.
And so with older children, whether it's preteen or teenagers or even adult children, how do you break that cycle?
You gotta say no. And it's hard because I have adult children and it's, be honest, when you were little, I didn't know. And I gave in a lot. And I realized that it wasn't good for you. I realized when I gave in too much that you didn't learn anything.
Right.
I actually had a woman tell me this years ago, and I've never forgotten it. And she said, when we go in and fix things for our children, she said, everything that happens to us is a lesson. And as we grow, everything that we learn brings us to a new level, right? And we work through something, and we know that God's path for us is the same, right? We go through stuff because God's taking us to another level, but we got to get through this and learn all that we need to, and that wisdom that was gained that gets us to the next phase. When we do things for our children, we are actually stunting their growth. So whatever lesson they were supposed to learn, if I take that away from them, I may have set them back 10 years.
that. And you don't think about it like that
Right.
as a parent.
Right.
Like, I think of my kids, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the younger two are it's different because they haven't really experienced life
Yeah.
yet. Like, Saray's 11. But the boys, Eli is about to be 20 and
Mm-hmm.
then Isaiah is about to be 18. And they go
Yep.
through things. And it's like, a lot of it is financial
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? And it's like, well, I will let you borrow it, but you better pay me back,
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely guilty
Yeah.
of that. But it's also like being raised by a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want like I think in my head that I'm setting them up for success because I'm helping them not struggle,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like, because I struggled so much
Right.
growing up
And what did you learn in the struggle?
to be strong and
Yeah.
independent.
It, right, and there's a fine line,
Yeah.
right? There's abandonment,
Right,
and then there's letting
right.
you struggle a little bit. There is a book, parents. The only book I've ever recommended in my life is called Parenting with Love and Logic. Phenomenal. Both people were psychologists, and amazing book. But it's all about choices and teaching our children. So we raise our kids we want them to go out and live a life and make good choices, but we never allow our children to make choices. We make all their choices for them.
That's
And then
good.
all of a sudden, magically, at 20, we want you to be a good citizen, upstanding, good, great choices. But
Right.
so in it, they realized that their children had no understanding of the value of money. And so him and his wife sat down, their two boys, and they said, okay, this, school year's coming up and we've decided this is how much we usually spend buying you your back to school clothes, your folders, pens, pencils, all of that. And so what we've decided is you have no understanding of money. So we're going to give you what we would have spent on you for the first semester. And you are responsible, and we will not be giving you another dime. So you need to figure it out. So the two brothers went out, and the one, very meticulous, went and bought all the stuff he needed. The other one went, I think he spent money on an amp for his guitar, and he bought, nothing to do with school.
Right.
School starts about 2 weeks in, whining. I don't have any pens. I don't have any paper. Sorry. And they said it was the hardest thing ever to stick to that because they saw the suffering. And that boy suffered all the way up until Christmas break. He suffered. And finally sat him down and said, okay, like, here's the money for the second half. They said he had everything written down, exactly what he needed, where the best sales were, everything. And you know what? Until they graduated, they did the same thing, and he never did it again. But he had to suffer.
Right.
And their oldest, or maybe it was their youngest, when he was a senior, he told his parents, there's this party going on this weekend. Everybody's going to be there. It's a senior class. Can I borrow the car? And he said, I'm sorry. The dad said, I have a seminar. Ask your mom. And he said, that's okay, Dad. She has a seminar too. And he goes, I'm just not going to go. And he says, well, why don't you call your friend Charlie? And he goes, no, that's okay, Dad. And he walks away. So his dad follows him into his room and was like, what's going on? I thought, something happened with Charlie. And he goes, Charlie's been drinking a lot at parties and stuff, and I just don't feel safe getting into a car with him. And he was like, I'm so proud of you, the choice that you made. Like, that's such a grown-up. And that night, Charlie went off the side of a cliff with, I think, 3 other of their friends driving home drunk, and they were all killed. And so he said, if we had not taught our children to make choices, my son would have been in that car.
Right. So how do you start implementing that
So
from childhood, right? Because
yes,
my 6-year-old, if I give her a choice, I'm just going to say something real crazy, right? Like, would you rather have dinner or ice cream? She's going to be like, ice cream? Okay. Ice cream going to win all the time.
Okay, so it's logical choices. Okay, so and this was something that I had to implement as I started learning too, because my kids were also a little bit older when we started it, but choices. So it was, you have a choice. Children, like when they get dressed, do not open up the closet and be like, whatever.
Right.
It's extremely overwhelming for their little brains. So what you do is you lay out 2 shirts, you lay out 2 different pairs of pants, socks, shoes, and then say, you can choose whichever one you want, or you can mix and match. You've now given them a choice, but in a limited space.
Okay.
They can handle that choice.
At what age can they not handle? Like, when does that change? And I'm going to tell you why I ask. Saray's 11, and she'll still sometimes in the morning be like, can you pick my clothes? Like, so is that still a lot for her to do at 11?
So even at 10, 11, even though the brain is starting to change, they have so much going on because they're going into pre-adolescence. And so the body's really starting to shift. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, but Steve Jobs always wore like the same thing every single day. And so does Zuckerberg, like the white tee and the jeans. And what they found was the brain is only capable of making so many good decisions every day. And so for children, it can be really exhausting to even have to go to that. It's just one more thing they have to think about. So there's nothing wrong with that. You can wanting her to be involved, which is, okay, well, I can put 2 outfits out and you can choose which one or mix and match. And, you know, like I do your sister, that way she's involved, but not to the point where she has to go through every single thing to figure it out.
Yeah. And see, for me, I think I go to like, you're being lazy. Right? Like as the parent, that's really, I'm like, Saray, stop being lazy. Like just pick something.
Yeah.
I don't ever think like that it's overwhelming to a child. Because in my head, it's like, what do you go through? You're 11.
And so think about like at that age, that one, you're about to hit the 12-year stage. It's all about to change, especially with females. But at that stage, their life is so much different than ours was growing up. You know, any kid that was born after social media, you know, they're going to school and they're competing now with social media and then all of their friends and people videotaping them. And it's so much more than what we could even imagine. And all the silly little things, they're already so hard on themselves because they compare themselves with everybody. And even more so than we did because we had magazines, they have social media that's not real. And so that is exhausting. And so it can be, instead of it being lazy, it could be, well, I don't want the responsibility that if I don't like something on me, at least I didn't pick it. Right? Because if I don't like something and somebody makes fun of me, I can be mad at you and not mad at myself.
Right. Like my mom picked this.
Yes. And so I know it sounds silly, but it makes sense to them.
That makes a lot of sense now that you say it. And again, as an adult, you don't think that your child goes through anything.
Right, because they're a kid. Because in our brain, as an adult, I've got 50 million things that I have to do today, and I'm working, and I'm providing, and da-da-da-da.
Right.
Child, you get to go to school, do some work, and play.
Right.
But it's so much more than that.
Right. So would you say that the reason behind tantrums, defiance, the attitude, does that come from them trying to be dominant, or is there another cause for that, like biologically?
Dominant, they're looking for, they need to be heard. Children throw tantrums for you. If you walk away, they will stop the tantrum. And there is actually a video. You have to look it up. It's hilarious. A little boy throws tantrum as mom keeps leaving the room. He's like a year old, and he's screaming, and she has the camera, and she walks out, dog's following her. She steps over him and walks into another room. He screams. He looks over, sees that mom's not there anymore, stands up, quits screaming, stands up, runs over, sees her, throws himself back down, screams. She walks past him, walks over, and walks to another place. He looks, she's gone, stops till he finds her, throws himself back down. This goes on for like 6-7 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
The tantrum's for you. The tantrum is, it could be I'm tired. It could be I'm overwhelmed. It could be, Mom, you've been busy. I just need you. I need to hear you. I need for you to talk to me. Children need our attention, but in our busy lives, we don't have the time to give them that amount of attention. So it can be a lot of different things. Children need routines. Parents, please do not ever let your children just stay up until they fall asleep. Because their little brains, every single day is something new, and they're growing and changing so much that routine makes them feel safe. A bedtime makes them feel safe. Having dinner, knowing that dinner is going to be there every single day, it makes them feel safe. And when a child feels safe, then they can actually start to explore their world a little bit. Child that doesn't feel safe will be attached to you at all times, and they don't trust themselves, and they don't trust anything outside of you.
Wow. That's deep. Yeah. You don't think bedtime is that important?
The ritual. So So every night, especially if you have a baby, start right away. Babies do not start a sleep schedule for a good month after they're born, month and a half. But every night you go in, sit down. They take their bath, and then after the bath, they get their pajamas on, and then after their pajamas on, you sit down and you read to them. You have this little ritual. So what happens is the brain, as this starts, the brain's like, oh, bedtime's coming.
Right.
So then it starts to release melatonin. because it knows what to expect. When the child's just jarred into places, there's no routine happening for the brain. So those patterns aren't there, which they now have anything to rely on. So they can get overexhausted and but if they know, okay, after bath, I get to go to sleep, even though they're going to fight you because they're little and they're curious, they don't want to sleep, but their body does. And so that routine gives them. Adults, my clients that are adults that can't sleep, I'm like, create a bedtime routine.
Yeah.
Every night, do your sleepy time tea, and then, or whatever, you do to stay away from caffeine. You need to put your phone down at least a half hour. Your brain, that flickering light is actually keeping the brain from releasing melatonin for you to be able to go to sleep. And so also what we found out with adults is people, and I hear this from teenagers all the way up into adults all the time, is I'll get through my day and I don't remember my day, what's going on with my memory. So before cell phones, people would lay in bed and it would take you, 10 minutes to fall asleep, and you lay there and you think about your day. And your brain would go over what was good and what was bad. And then because there was good, the brain would be like, oh, okay, this was a good day. And it would store it in the long-term memory. Going on your phone stops the review of the day. Wow. Therefore, the brain says, oh, nothing important happened today. Kicks it out. It's gone.
Does that also affect, like, when it happens to me all the time. I'll be like, oh, let me go, blah, blah, blah. I walk into the room. Then I start doing something else. And then I forgot why I even walked in the room
for. So at your age, stress. Stress can remember
See, I'm stressed out, y'all.
The pregnancy hormone thing. Remember the same thing we call it pregnancy brain, because your body was being so taxed because you're creating this human being that you're just like, I don't even remember what I was doing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Honey, you've got babies.
I know.
Still. And so you're being pulled into 50 different directions. So the frontal lobe, so the higher level of thinking is right here in the prefrontal cortex. And when you are stressed, you have the fight or flight going on, you have adrenaline, you have cortisol, you have all of this stuff. And so the brain's going to pay attention to what it needs to pay attention to. Right. So that higher level of thinking goes out the window because right now I'm just in survival mode trying to get all this done. So that's where I need to focus. So if you think about, when you think of somebody being chased by a lion, right? When you're being chased by a lion, you're not like, oh, darn it, I got to do the laundry. I forgot I needed to do that. Oh, I didn't call that person back. Then nowhere to be found. Your body's just like, you better outrun this thing or you're going to die.
Right.
Well, when you're constantly in survival mode, which parents are, the memory's gone. It's not important at that time.
Right. And it's funny because people that do struggle with that, they're like, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's. I'm like, I cancel that in Jesus' name.
Yes.
I ain't got
not
nothing.
Proclaim that.
I'm like, I'm just not paying attention clearly. That's
yes. You know what? It's so funny that you say that because I literally just watched a study today. Yes, I'm the nerd that watches studies and reads them all the time. They just found out that the research studies showed that what you feel about food actually can affect how much you weigh.
What?
So what they found was
if you hate healthy food,
or you think that every time I
nasty.
eat this just puts weight on me.
Really?
So they showed that they took a really healthy shake and they put on there decadent, very low in calories, blah, 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 blah. And then this one was overindulgent, fat, and put a whole bunch of calories on it, when in reality they were exactly the same. The people who were doing the shake and the one that thought there wasn't any calories but it was really good for them began losing weight, and the people who had it over here that saw it as something that they were indulging in and it was bad for them were gaining weight. And they found that we determine if something's good or bad, and so when we eat it and we eat it with guilt, our body will hold on to it as though it is bad for us, therefore putting on the weight.
That's
so much. So our lives are mental.
Yeah. I wonder if subconsciously, though, if drinking the supposed low calorie one, because this happens to me when I start my day off with the gym or like some form of exercise. Oh, your girl eating good all day. I'm like, yes, I did good this morning. I am not messing up this workout. But when I don't, I'm like, I don't even care. Like, whatever. If I make my steps, I make them, and So I wonder if that also plays
100%,
into it.
100%. It's all mind over matter. Everything. And we're gonna do another podcast over quantum physics and the brain, because I'm gonna tell you, it is mind-blowing how much we actually do have control over what happens to us. Just like speaking, never speak things into your life, like saying Alzheimer's or dementia, claiming that. Or I hear people say, well, it runs in my family. Stop claiming that.
Yeah.
No, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus Christ. I am healthy and I'm healed by the stripes of Jesus.
Yes.
And his sacrifice on the cross. You declare that.
Right. And all of those like generational curses, for those of you that don't know what a generational curse is, that's like saying, oh, my great grandma had high blood pressure.
Yes.
Like those are things that are followed generation to generation. And so I remember vividly, like one day, like the Lord led me into intercessory prayer, and I'm just praying, and I started naming the last person that had each disease.
Wow.
So I'm like, diabetes, you end here.
Yes,
High blood pressure, you end here. And that's what I did. And I said, if there's anything else that I don't know about that runs in this blood, Lord, you know what it is.
Yes.
And it ends with whoever had it last.
Yes.
And so it's those that you have to be aware, and people think, and I was thinking about this morning because I was watching a podcast and she was talking about how important meditation is, right? And so people think like meditation is okay, but prayer is dumb. It's essentially the same thing.
It is exactly the same thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, and there's a lot of things that tie into spirituality, but the moment you say it's anything with God, they're like, oh, I don't want nothing to do that. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yes.
Right? When you associate it with God. But when you associate it with chakras and whatever,
yoga,
like, it's like,
yes.
oh, this is so good for me. And it's like, yeah, God created it first. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And exactly. That's what prayer is, right?
Yeah.
Prayer is a meditation. And when you're consistently going over and you're saying the same thing again and again and again, or thank you, I am healed, just adding Jesus into that, you literally is the same thing.
Right. So they say like positive affirmations, this changed my life. And I'm like, yeah, I bet it did, because, I don't like the term speaking things into existence, right? Like to me, that like the only person that created was God, right? He spoke and was like, let there be.
Yes.
But for us, we do throw these things in the air, right?
Yes.
And so you are what you say you are.
Yes, you are.
Right? And it's hard because our minds were engraved, right, from childhood. Like even my 6-year-old, right? She'll say like, I'm skinny, right? And then she'll say to Saray, like, you're not that skinny. Right. But she's 6, right? Yes. But even at 6, she can tell, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm skinny. There's something different about you. You a little bit big, right? Like she told her daycare teacher one time that her shadow was fat.
Oh.
Yes. And so I'm like, Janelle, like, you can't say that. And she's like, I didn't say she was fat. I said her shadow was fat. And I'm like, it's the same thing.
but she doesn't know, right? Yeah.
But all of these things, for example, weight, right? They're engraved from childhood.
Yes.
And I'm trying to teach the girls that like there's no such thing as a bad or good food. It's just what it does to our bodies.
Yes.
So like Saray, she has a heart condition. And so she was born with a heart condition. She had surgery when she was 7 days old. And she had another procedure when right before Thanksgiving that same year. She was like 6 months old. And so everything that I associate with her has to do with her heart. Like, this isn't bad for you, but we have to also watch out for your heart, Yes. And so like, if she asks for more rice, because your girl loves rice for dinner, right? I'll say, you can have more rice, but you have to have more chicken also. Like you have to include protein because you're not but I don't just say like, no, rice is bad or carbs are bad. Right. I'm like, can we add a little bit more protein? So I'm like telling her protein. I'm not saying, whatever. Like I try to word it to where it doesn't sound bad.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
That makes sense.
And you're explaining it. And that's another thing too, is explaining that to a kid, like, this is really good. Right. But sometimes we're not really even hungry anymore. It's a craving because it tastes so good. And that's okay. And it's wonderful that it tastes that well. But have you drank water today? Because dehydration can make you feel hungry. And so teaching them that, when you're craving, so especially with females, if you're craving ice cream, if you're craving chocolate, you could be getting ready to start your period. Teaching them. So that's another thing for like, preschool or preschool, my goodness, preteen, when they're starting their periods, and that's coming. Have them download the period tracker apps because you're going to teach them to pay attention to their moods. You know, I feel really, really tired and really irritated and really mad today, and I don't know why. Okay, put that in your little period tracker, because what that might be is your hormones are shifting.
Right.
And so now, instead of just being angry and sad, there's a reason.
Right.
I'm really, really, really hungry and I'm really craving this. Why? Oh, my period's going to start in 2 days.
Yes.
And it's learning that a period's amazing because of it, you're going to be able to have a child one day.
Right.
And that's one thing in the pagan cultures, you know, that they did right, was they really did cherish the period, because it was beautiful, because it was bringing life.
Right.
Sadly, in religious cultures, you're dirty, you're unclean. And I know that wasn't from God to say that it was, even though it is, like, you couldn't go in, but it wasn't because it was bad.
Right.
It was different. It was a different type of unclean. And so teaching girls that having your period is great. And that means that you're healthy and you're strong, because you're having, if you weren't healthy, you might not have your period.
Right.
And so if you can teach them that, then it's not such a horrible that they hate.
Right.
Right. Because we all grew up hating it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it was painful. But if you're having cramps, there's a good chance that there's nutrients that are missing in your body.
Right.
Because they're so bad.
Right.
So let's figure that out.
Yeah. And even now, like, as an adult, I still hate my period. If there's a man watching, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, but I think what adds to that is the fact that men don't understand. Right. So, like, Pastor Les is amazing and he tries. Right. And so, like, if I'm in a bad mood and I know it's because I'm about to get my period, I'm like, FYI.
Yes.
Like, stay away.
Yes.
Right. Because he'll be like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. Like, there's nothing, like, I woke up like this.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
Right. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. And so there's nothing that you can do to fix this. Just leave me alone.
So I want to tell men out there, this is my favorite thing to tell men, is men get periods too.
Right.
So first of all, only 5% of women actually have PMS.
Really?
Only 5%.
So I'm
You're in that 5%.
5%.
Men,
Boy.
men can have a period, so you obviously don't have the period part, but men can have a change in hormones. And some men 3 to 4 days out of the month, they become quiet, distant, they need more time, they get aggravated really easily, and you're just like, where is this coming from? And it's because that particular man is actually having their hormone shift.
That's crazy.
And so for some men, 3 to 4 days. And so I'm going to say a certain someone that I know has it, and I know when it happens to just take a step back, give him his space.
Right.
He just needs a little extra space. And when he's feeling better, he'll call me over. He'll want me to be sitting next to him. But at those times, I know not to sit too close.
Yeah.
Because he's just irritated.
That's crazy. Like, you don't think about that, that it can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about now, put in the fact that our food in today's life, it sucks. It's horrible.
Right.
We don't get the nutrients. I'm going to also recommend teenagers and children need to be taking vitamins. You need to get them a good vitamin because they are not getting the nutrients that they need. The average apple in the grocery store has been in a warehouse for a year before it ever hits the market. They pick them just as they come out, they're not ripe, and then they freeze them and they stick them in warehouses, and then right before they bring them, they scan them with a gas that ripens them instantly, which is why they don't have very much taste.
Wow.
And because of that, the nutrient levels can be between 2 to 5% max.
That's crazy.
So here you think you're feeding your kid this fruit and it's great and they're getting all of this stuff.
Right.
They're not getting even a half of what they should be getting. Children need supplements.
Wow.
100%. And I do not get paid for this, but there's an app that I have. It's $20 every 3 months, but it's called Prove It. And my husband and I use it all the time. When you go, you pick up a vitamin and you just scan the barcode and it will tell you the efficacy of it. So there's one brand that came out and it's supposed to be great, and I scanned it and it got a 45 out of 100.
Wow.
And it basically was like, it has this and it doesn't have what it says. Let's say it's, I don't know, you're buying something that's supposed to have vitamin D in it.
Right.
And it'll show that the actual vitamin D is like 1%. So it is worth you scanning, and if you can't afford it, get with a couple of people and do it.
Right.
Scan all of your vitamins to see if they actually have. There's another app, it's called Yuka, Yuka.
Oh, I've seen that.
That one's free. This one, you scan all your food.
It tells you like how good it is for you or something
Gatorade.
like that.
Everyone listen. Gatorade, out of 100, Gatorade falls around a 9. Has cancer causing, I mean, it's
Pastor
horrifying.
No more Gatorade.
Yes, horrible. And so as you look through it, you're like, oh my gosh. And here's all these foods that I thought was healthy.
Right.
And yucca will actually go through. And once you've used it enough, it'll actually unlock where you can do hair care and skin products as well.
Wow. Yeah, I don't remember how I discovered that app, but I did download it, and I remember why I downloaded it, because I went into a rabbit hole on deodorant.
Same stuff.
Right? Because again, like, your skin is the biggest organ of your body. So like, if there's one thing that you need to really care about what you're putting on, is like what you put on your skin, because it absorbs it. Like, that's why you put on some Vaseline and then you're like, oh, it's dry. Yeah, because your skin literally sucked it up. And so I went into like a whole rabbit hole about like deodorants and the stuff that's in deodorant. And then I'm like thinking, like, who invented deodorant? Right? Like, I wonder what they used to use back then for deodorant. Because like, I don't always smell.
Right.
Like, I'm being like 100% honest. I don't always smell, you know? So like, why do we push these things so much when like, unless, I mean, there are people that have really bad BO,
right?
But I'm not one of them. So is it something internally?
It's hormones,
right?
Hormones cause it. That's why it's so funny, because we have my freshmen, I always have to have the talk. They're supposed to get it in health class, but I'm like, listen, as freshmen, your hormones have kicked in, which means you used to be able to play on the playground for hours and you didn't smell. You do now, because of hormones. So I'm like, you need to shower daily. Right. This isn't a once every couple of days take a bath. Like, you need to do every single day because of hormones. And so so hormones affect you. Bacteria, you know what I mean, that can also cause it. But as far as like your skincare, and that was another thing. So CeraVe is always recommended by dermatologists. Yeah. And if you go to Target, they have another one called Native. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I was going to, I bought that for my daughter. And then I looked at the Yucca app, and it's horrible. CeraVe, there's a massive lawsuit right now for cancer. Really? Yes. Well, I'm glad I didn't buy that lotion this recommended by doctors. Like,
both of my girls have eczema.
Yeah. See? So, what's phenomenal? Go on YouTube and look up castor oil. Yes. Castor oil, and you have to get it in a glass bottle because it leaches everything. So if it's in plastic, it'll leach the plastic out of the plastic bottle. It has to be in glass. It should be in a dark glass to preserve it. But you take castor oil and you can mix it with coconut oil, argan oil, jojoba oil, and then you put that all over you. Castor oil actually sucks the moisture out of the air and will put it into your skin. Here's the crazy part. You can put castor oil in your eyes. In? Pure drops. It helps break down cataracts. Really? You can put castor oil. You can use it if you're constipated. You just, a little bit. Don't go crazy with it. A little bit. You can put it in your belly button. Go on YouTube and look up castor oil people's stories. That's crazy. Put castor oil on your face, and it actually, it slows the process of aging.
We're going to have to do like 17 podcasts on, because...
Yeah, so castor oil. So we have pushed all of these products. Yeah. And go back to the basics. Right. Go back to the stuff, because that is 100%. They have pushed. So back in the 1920s, companies started to push like all of the commercials and stuff, because they were able to, they have this huge market. Right. Toothpaste, you know how, like, if you look in their teeth whitening, baking soda. Well, that's what people use, was baking soda, salt, is how they brush their teeth. Really? Then they came up with the word, literally created the word halitosis, which meant bad breath. Bad breath, and then started marketing it. It was a market campaign. That's crazy. And so there are basics. Borax is amazing, and you can use it. You can actually, I know this disclaimer, I'm not telling you to do it, but people are, you should never eat it. No, you can actually physically eat it and it doesn't harm you. Everything out there will tell you it does because the FDA, but people, you can buy like borax, little pills that women for like, they get yeast infections and stuff. You can use those and it will clear it up. That's crazy. Yeah. So natural is 100%. But because of marketing and money,
Right, of
people
course.
think that you can't, or you don't have to. You have to use this.
Right, of course. Let me just tell y'all, Dawn, every time I talk to her, she's a member of our church. And every Sunday we be having these long conversations, and I'm like, I just look at her and I'm amazed. I'm like, she's like a vault of information. I'll be like, yeah, I was reading this, and she'll be like, you know what study I saw?
I love
I
to
love
learn.
it, though.
I love to
it.
learn, and I'm that brain that holds on to information. So my husband and I will, I've done like seminars and stuff, and he was always like, here's the PowerPoint. And I'm like, I don't really need the PowerPoint, because I'll glance at it and I'm like, oh,
Right.
and then it just starts pouring out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
That's like how I am with sermons. I do bullet points most of the time. And it's just like, because I know if I just write red, just an example, I know what I'm going to talk about.
Exactly.
Associated with that word.
Yep.
So my last question will be, what do you want parents to gain from the parents conference? What was the purpose of you wanting to do this, and what knowledge do you want them to be able to walk out of here with, which is free, by the way. So kind of just tell us why should they come? What is going to be going to be their key takeaway from this conference?
So one, I think I want parents to know you're not alone, because it's a very hard place to be sometimes. When you become a parent, you're no longer your mom, right? Your mom, your wife, you're not
Doctor.
You're not your individual self anymore.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, you have to be everything. I want one of them. I would love to see so many women connect, because there was this
a
research study and it showed that one of the problems that we have today is there's no longer community.
Yes.
And so what's missing? And they showed that years ago, you went to the grocery store, you knew the cashier, and you'd stand and you'd have a conversation. You went to your butcher and you'd ask them how their mom was. Oh, because you knew that they had surgery. You went to the dry cleaner. You went, everywhere you went, you knew the people, and you had a conversation and you had a check-in. And if you didn't show up for 2 days, people were asking.
Right.
They knew, right?
Yeah.
And so there was this community that you knew that people cared about you. And when you had a problem, you could go to multiple people and they would go, oh, I'm going through that. Well, we don't have that anymore.
Right.
Social media has destroyed communities. Technology, people don't shop. They go online and they order their stuff. COVID created so much fear, and, fear is not of God, and do not fall for it. But it created so much fear that people quit going shopping. They quit doing that. So I want women and men to know that there are people out there just like you that are going through it, and that there's ways that you can contact people, talk to people, and not feel judged.
Yes.
That's my number one. My number two is to give you a baseline understanding of what's going on sometimes in the brain and their hormones, and why they're throwing a tantrum, or when your teenager no longer talks to you, that there's this switch change that's happening in the brain, and it's not you. It's their way of growing and learning. And one of the stories I told you guys, and I think I told Pastor Les the first time, and it was, there's this thing in your brain called the tegmental segue, and dopamine flows through it when you're little, and that's why little kids are so joyful. They can play for hours. And then when you're a teenager, you're 13, 14, you're sitting looking at your backyard thinking, how did I play out here forever and not get bored? Like, oh my gosh. What happened was, when you became a preteen, that tegmental segue started to close. And so that dopamine that gives you joy, it stopped flowing. It's now just a drop. It's a trickle. And so people say, well, why would that happen? Well, scientists believe that if you were always happy at home, you would never leave. You would never seek out a life for yourself.
Yeah, for real.
And so becoming that preteen is teaching you to find your own life, to find your own friends, to find your own place in the world. And little by little, it starts to separate you. And so you're not losing your child, but you're gaining this new person that's trying to find their own self.
Yeah.
And so they have to go through that. And unfortunately, it lasts till they're about 22, 23, 24 years old. And this is why teenagers want to be in their room.
Yeah.
They need their alone time. That's their time to think. Problem with it today is they go to social media and they're going to bad things. Whereas, being in their room is not a bad thing.
Right.
But giving them wholesome things to do while they spend quality time by themselves.
Wow.
But it's not you. And so when you're a toddler, you think, oh my gosh, I can't wait till they get older and it's going to be easier.
Right.
Every age comes with its own set of stuff.
I learned that.
And if you can have the tools to kind of understand what's happening, I think it gives you the chance to be able to come at it in a different way and to have more success, to have more harmony and peace between you and your kids. And just you as a parent going to bed thinking, oh my gosh, like I messed up so bad, or I shouldn't have said this. I'm ruining my kids. For one, I don't care how great a parent you are, you're always going to do something that's going to ruin your kids. Like, that's just life. Every kid, I don't care how great you were, is going to grow up and go, well, there's this one thing that happened to me. So every parent needs to hear that. The community. People need a community.
Right. And you will be touching on from toddlers up
to teens.
Perfect.
Yes. Even to early probably 20s.
Awesome. So if you have any children that are toddlers or even grandkids at this point, like, nieces, nephews, whatever, like, please come out. I will put the flyer at the end of the video, or I should say Pastor Les will put the flyer at the end of the video. And it will be free of charge July 11th here at our church, 1019 East Broad Street in Elyria. And that'll be at 12 noon. And so come out and join us, and you'll be able to talk to Dawn after if you want to, right? Connect with her, get her information. And I'm very excited, like super excited about this because, again, right, like I have kids, and my kids range from 6 to almost 20 now. And so there's things that still is like, oh, is this normal? And then having Saray with being the first girl, right? Like, I'm not looking forward to like the whole period situation, and I'm really not. I'm really
hormone
not.
Shifts,
you know.
Yes.
So some rapid fire questions. It's just a few. So just whatever's the quickest thing that comes to mind. So gentle parenting, yes or no?
No.
Should parents be friends with their kids?
No.
Most misunderstood behavior in toddlers.
That they're not being bad when they're throwing a tantrum. There's reasons for it.
Okay. Most misunderstood behavior in teens.
Same thing.
Same thing?
Yep.
One parenting book, I know you said this, one parenting book everyone should read.
Parenting with Love and Logic. And there's a toddler version, and then there's a little bit older, the adolescent version.
Perfect. And then one word of encouragement for the parents that are listening.
You're not bad, and you're not alone, and you're not a terrible parent. And it's hard. It is harder than anybody ever wants to admit. We love our kids, but they change our lives forever. And there's good and there is bad, and it is a struggle. And I think that all we ever hear is children are a blessing, and we're so afraid to say yes, but sometimes I feel like there's a terrorist living in my home. But they are a blessing, and they're amazing, but they're hard. It is the most amazing and hardest thing you will ever do in your entire life is to be a parent.
Yes, I love that. So thank you so much for being here. And we're going to be doing a whole bunch more of these.
Bring a notebook. Please bring a notebook so you can write down like key things that you like or things that I mentioned that you're able to look up.
Yes, absolutely. So with the parents conference, would you recommend that they don't bring their children?
Yes, I would. No, because kids are also going to tune into things that are being said, and they're going to and learning like, oh, wait a minute, and expecting you to behave a certain way or do something. So if you can come, that way you also come and be able to talk to other grown-ups without being interrupted. That's something that all parents need too.
Right.
And hopefully maybe meet some people that you connect with and want to become friends with and parent with.
Right. I mean, it does, like, it takes a village.
Yes.
And so it's very difficult to parent when you feel like you're alone.
Yes.
And especially for women, I feel like men don't have the same emotional connection to kids, as not that they love them any less, right? But we carry them.
Yes.
So I feel like our connection to our kids is like completely different. Even with my older son, I'll lay down in bed with him and I'll cuddle with him, right? Like it's just like, that's my baby. My husband would never,
Right. Yes. And we know now that when your child is born that they leave behind stem cells that stay a part of us for the rest of our lives.
Yes. So it's parenting is a beautiful thing, and we should feel privileged to be able to be parents, because there's some people that can't have children of their own,
Yes.
even though there's other options, right?
Yeah.
Adoption and stuff like that. But if you can come out, please do
Yes.
so. Is there anything else you want to?
Like I said, yeah. I mean, if you have to bring your kids, I mean, sometimes it happens. But I would love for you to be able to fellowship with other people and other adults and kind of trade stories and talk about things, because that's the whole point of connection and not feeling you're alone. And just come, because there's a lot. You know me, I could probably be up here for like 4 hours and tell you a whole bunch of stuff.
We might need a part 2 of that conference.
Right.
So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Take care.